Thanks for joining us for this COVID-19 and City News Briefing for Wednesday, February 17th. Just a few updates for you today, and we'll start with hospitalizations. Between Merit Health Wesley and Forest General, there are 57 people who were positive with COVID, and of those 57, 15 are in the ICU. Both of these numbers are well below where we've been for the last 2 weeks. And so just kind of, as you can see here, a month ago we were hitting this spike. 118 was, I think, the spike. But seeing that number now kind of cut in half is a very promising sign for us. And it's a testament that when we get the vulnerable access to this vaccine and we protect the vulnerable, you're going to see hospitalizations continue to drop. And we can continue that effort to get back to normalcy. So positive signs there. Statewide today, there were 684 new cases reported, 23 new deaths, and none of those deaths were in Forest and Lamar County. New positive cases, Forest County saw 19, Lamar County saw 15. And since this began, Forest County's number is now at 6,926. Lamar County is at 5,684. Our 5-day average as a whole continues to drop. We're now well below where we were during that July spike, as well as the spike that started in November. And so both counties now under 30 in terms of their 5-day average. The inside 14-day number is the number of people who have received their positive test result within the last 2 weeks. Forest County's is now at 384, and Lamar County's is now at 345. So again, this is another one that we're starting to see, for the most part, continued drop now in the mid-700s. And as that number continues to drop, you should continue also seeing a corresponding drop in hospitalizations and ICU admissions. So just compared to a week ago, last Wednesday, Forest County was at 422 inside 14-day. They're now at 384. A week ago, Lamar County's inside 14-day number was at 365. It's now dropped by 20. And so now, metro area-wide, 729. Still higher than we want, but dropping nonetheless. Hospitalizations, an even bigger decrease, down by 15 from a week ago. ICU admissions down by 9. Our goals continue to be protecting the vulnerable, people over the age of 60, people with underlying or chronic health conditions, preventing overrun of the healthcare system by slowing the spread and continuing to prioritize public health while giving the private sector the space to operate. Just some information on the vaccination weekend. Of course, last weekend we had a first-come, first-served vaccination clinic at C.E. Roy Community Center. There were 252 shots given out each day, and I can tell you from being there early in the morning, folks started lining up on Saturday as early as 5 a.m. And before the first shot was given at noon, the line was already accounting for all 252 shots. This was one of the first come, first served vaccine clinics that we've seen in the state. And we did it to try and make sure that we were getting to all populations, to getting to the underserved. And we ask you to help us try and get those in our own community who may not have access to technology or may not have someone who can book them an appointment online. Help us get them to the front of the line. And you did a great job in helping us do that. So there was a lot of concern at first that folks from out of town and out of state were going to come and flood and get this free vaccine. And for the most part, that didn't happen. We did have 3 people from out of state. We had 1 from Alabama, 2 from Louisiana. But as you can see here, 382 of the approximately 504 doses that were given out, 75% came from Forest County. That's a remarkable thing that we were able to take care of our own. Marion County came in with 24 recipients, which is 4.72%. Lamar County also above 4%. And then you saw Jones, Perry, Covington, and Jasper have some, but then they had 15 other counties and parishes that had fewer than 4. So great job in making sure that our folks knew about this to come and get it. We also wanted to make sure there's equity in the distribution of this vaccine. We knew that statewide, African Americans are between 37 and 40% of the population, but at a particular time only had 18% of the vaccines, and so we wanted to make sure that we were taking care of everyone in our community. And so African Americans this past weekend accounted for 398. It's over 78% of the vaccines that were given out. White, 78, just over 15%. Other 12, 2.36%. So again, thank you for helping us get the word out and getting folks who needed the vaccine to the front of the line. Some city news to tell you about. Last night at City Council meeting, the City Council updated the voting locations for 3 precincts that are going to take effect this election cycle. This was done to coincide with where folks in many of these neighborhoods had already been voting in their state and federal elections. So if you're in Ward 1, and you're in that Highlands precinct, for many years you've been voting at the Longleaf Trace Gateway for state elections and for president. Now you'll be able to do that for your city election as well. And so instead of voting at Cornerstone Church on 7th Street, you'll now go to Longleaf Trace Gateway, where you've been voting for many years for those congressional and governor elections as well. If you're in Ward 2, in the USO precinct, you will now vote at Eureka School, a half a block away. Forest County made this change in 2018 because they wanted to space voters out more, and they wanted something that was more ADA accessible. During the pandemic, that's a really good idea, and so you will now vote at Eureka School just as you've done in 2018, 2019, and 2020. And in Ward 4, if you live in Parkhaven neighborhood, or if you live in the Audubon Westwood neighborhood and you typically vote at the zoo, you'll now vote at the Hardy Street Baptist Church Activity Building, which is at the corner of Hardy and 17th, which is exactly where you voted during the presidential election last year. And so, again, trying to make it less confusing that you go one place for your state, county, and federal election and then go somewhere different for your municipal election. It doesn't change all the things because city and county precincts are different, but where there's overlap, we try to align those so that you can have one consistent place that you go to vote. And so we know, we hope for a big turnout in the primary in April and then the general election on June the 8th. Looking ahead for the weekend, there is a mask and hand sanitizer giveaway that's going to be held on Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 6 at the Forest County Emergency Management Office on Highway 11. However, as always, if you need hand sanitizer or you need a mask and you are disabled or you just can't get out that day, you can call 544-5911 and one will be delivered to you. And finally, your act of courage. We talked a little while ago about the Vaccine Weekend at C.E. Roy, and there are a lot of people who made that happen. Hattiesburg Clinic staff, Dr. Batson, Charlie, the whole crew, their staff who helped input the data as people came in to check in. And this Hattiesburg Clinic for going to the Department of Health and asking them to be able to do an off-site vaccination distribution. We thank them for that. Forest General, who provided heaters the day of. I know their CEO, Andy Woodard, was out himself checking folks in as they got in line. And then finally, our city staff, Betsy Mercier, Ann Jones, Councilman Jeffrey George in Ward 1, police and fire folks helped line people up around several city blocks and tried to bring some order to what could have been a chaotic event. And so to everyone who had a hand in making Saturday and Sunday successful, we say thank you. As we continue in the week, remember to wash your hands, take care of yourself mentally and physically, wear a mask if you go out in public, do only what is essential, and remember, you're safer at home. Have a good evening.